Marcus drove the same bus route for 15 years, living paycheck to paycheck while supporting his sick mother. That rainy morning, he spotted an injured dog lying in pain on the empty street. Despite running on schedule for the first time this month, he couldn't ignore those pleading eyes. His choice to stop and help cost him his job of 15 years. With no savings and bills piling up, Marcus sat in his small apartment that evening, wondering how he would afford his mother's medicine. Then 3 black luxury cars pulled up outside his building. A man in an expensive suit stepped out carrying a folder that would change Marcus's life forever. Hi everyone, welcome to Mythos Weaver. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Marcus adjusted his worn uniform collar as he climbed into the driver's seat of bus route 27. The familiar smell of diesel and old leather seats greeted him. The clock read 6:45 a.m. Another day, another dollar, he whispered to himself, checking his phone for any messages from the nursing service that helped care for his mother. The morning started like any other. The usual passengers boarded at their regular stops, Mrs. Johnson with her grocery bags, Tom, the high school teacher grading papers in the third row. "Good morning, Marcus. How's your mother doing?" Mrs. Johnson asked as she tapped her bus pass. "Taking her medicines on time now." "The nurse helps a lot," Marcus replied, managing a small smile. The autumn rain made visibility poor. Marcus leaned forward, focusing on the wet road. He was finally on schedule this month after several warnings from his supervisor about tardiness. Turning onto Maple Street, Marcus noticed something unusual through the street windshield. A brown shape lay motionless on the sidewalk. As he got closer, his heart sank. It was a dog, injured and shivering in the rain. Marcus checked his watch. It was 7:15 a.m. He was perfectly on schedule. The next bus would come in 30 minutes. The dog lifted its head slightly, its eyes meeting Marcus's. "I can't just leave it there," Marcus said softly. He pulled the bus to a stop. "Everything okay?" Tom asked from his seat. "There's an injured dog." "I need to check on it," Marcus replied, already reaching for his umbrella. "There you go, but you'll be late," a passenger called out. They've been strict about timing lately. Marcus knew they were right. 3 warnings sat in his file already, but the dog's eyes held his gaze. Its brown fur was matted with blood from what looked like a bike accident, judging by the damaged bicycle lying nearby. "I'll only take a minute," Marcus said, opening the bus doors. "Please bear with me." The rain soaked through his uniform as he approached the trembling dog. Its leg was badly cut, but no bone seemed broken. The dog whimpered softly as Marcus gently touched its head. "It's okay, buddy. We'll get you some help," Marcus whispered, carefully pulling off his jacket to wrap around the injured animal. Marcus lifted the dog as gently as he could. The animal was heavy but manageable. He carried it back to the bus where concerned faces peered through the windows. Someone called the nearest vet clinic. "The vet can take him right now." "They're expecting us," Tom said after making the call. Marcus checked the time, 7:25 a.m. Already 10 minutes behind schedule. The dog settled in the front area near Marcus's seat, still wrapped in his jacket. A young girl moved closer to look. "Will the dog be okay?" she asked, her voice full of concern. "I hope so." "We're getting help," Marcus replied. Tom ended his call. "The vet can take him right now. They're expecting us." Marcus nodded, starting the bus. The detour to the vet clinic would add at least 15 more minutes to their delay. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "This might cost me my job," Marcus said quietly to Tom, who had moved to the front seat. "They can't fire you for helping an injured animal," Tom responded. "I've already had 3 warnings. I've been late twice because Mom needed emergency care, and once because of a flat tire," Marcus explained, turning towards Cedar Street. The vet clinic came into view. Marcus parked the bus in front. "I'll be as quick as possible," he told the passengers. The vet technician met him at the door. "Bring him straight back," she directed, leading the way to an exam room. Marcus placed the dog carefully on the examination table. I found him on Maple Street. Looks like a bike accident. You did the right thing bringing him in, the vet tech said, checking the dog's vital signs. He's got a microchip. We'll contact the owners. I have to go, Marcus said reluctantly. I'm running a bus route. Back on the bus, Marcus checked the time again, 7:40 a.m. 25 minutes behind schedule now. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his supervisor, report to my office immediately after your morning route. The rest of the route was a blur of stops and worried thoughts. Marcus's mind kept drifting to his mother's medical bills, the rent due next week, and the medications they could barely afford. At the final stop, Tom paused before getting off. You're a good person, Marcus. Whatever happens, remember that. Marcus managed a weak smile. Thanks, Tom. Being good doesn't pay the bills, though. Marcus parked the bus in the depot and walked slowly to his supervisor's office. The hallway felt longer than usual. He knocked on the door. Mark Robert Stevens, operations manager. Come in, Robert called out. Marcus entered, still in his rain-dampened uniform. Robert sat behind his desk, reviewing papers Marcus recognized as his performance records. Sit down, Robert said, gesturing to the chair. Want to explain why you're 25 minutes behind schedule? There was an injured dog on Maple Street. I couldn't leave it there, Marcus explained. Robert sighed. Marcus, we've had this conversation before. Your heart's in the right place, but this is a business. We have schedules to maintain. I understand, but I've already had 3 warnings this month. 2 for being late with my mother's emergencies, and 1 for the tire incident, Marcus responded quietly. My mother's health is stable now. The tire wasn't my fault, Marcus added. And now this. Passengers complained about the delay. Some missed their connecting buses, Robert continued. We can't run a reliable service this way. Marcus leaned forward. I can make up the time tomorrow. I'll work an extra shift this weekend. I'm sorry, Marcus. This isn't working out. We need drivers we can depend on, Robert said, pulling out a final document. This is your termination notice. Marcus stared at the paper. 15 years of service ended because he helped an injured dog. Clean out your locker. Security will escort you out, Robert said, standing up. Your final check will be mailed next week. Marcus walked to his locker in a daze. He pulled out his spare uniform, family photo, and the small emergency kit he always kept there. 15 years fit into one small box. The security guard, Mike, walked with him to the exit. Sorry about this, Marcus. You're one of the good ones. Thanks, Mike. Take care, Marcus replied, stepping out into the parking lot. At the bus stop, Marcus waited for the same route he'd driven for years. The irony wasn't lost on him. His phone showed 3 missed calls from the nursing service caring for his mother. How am I going to tell her? Marcus whispered to himself. His mother's care alone cost most of his monthly salary. Now, with no job, he felt hopeless. The bus arrived, and Marcus boarded as a passenger for the first time in 15 years. He sat quietly, watching the familiar streets pass by, wondering how everything had gone wrong so quickly. Marcus unlocked the door to his small apartment. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the window. His mother's nurse, Sarah, sat on the couch reading. Marcus, you're home early, Sarah said, looking up from her book. Is Mom awake? Marcus asked, setting down his box of belongings. She's resting. Everything okay? Sarah asked. The nursing service called about this month's payment. Marcus sank into the chair. I lost my job today, he added. Sarah moved closer. What happened? I stopped to help an injured dog. Made the route run late, Marcus explained. It was my 4th warning. That's terrible. What are you going to do? Marcus rubbed his face. I have some savings, maybe enough for 2 months of rent, mom's care, and medicine. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. An unknown number. Hello? Marcus answered. Is this Marcus Wilson? A woman's voice asked. Yes, speaking. This is Dr. Anderson from Cedar Street Veterinary Clinic. The dog you brought in this morning belongs to Mr. James Morrison. He'd like to speak with you. Marcus remembered the injured dog. Is the dog okay? Yes, thanks to you. Mr. Morrison insists on meeting you. He's here at the clinic now. Marcus looked at his watch. I can be there in 20 minutes. Sarah touched his arm. I can stay until you get back. Thanks, Sarah. I'll try not to be long, Marcus said, standing up. The bus ride to the vet clinic felt strange. Marcus watched the other passengers, wondering if they were also one kind act away from losing everything. The clinic's reception area was quiet when Marcus entered. A man in an expensive suit stood near the front desk, talking on his phone. The receptionist pointed Marcus toward him. The man ended his call and turned. Marcus Wilson? Yes, that's me. James Morrison, the man said, extending his hand. My dog, Max, is doing well, thanks to you. Marcus shook his hand. Glad I could help. The vet told me you lost your job because you stopped to help Max, James said. Is that true? Marcus nodded slowly. It was my fourth warning. Tell me about yourself, Marcus. What made you stop this morning? Marcus sat in a chair near Max's recovery kennel. I couldn't leave him there in the rain. He was hurt, scared. It wouldn't have felt right driving past. James nodded, watching his dog rest. Max is more than just a pet. He's my last connection to my late wife. She rescued him 10 years ago. I understand. I take care of my mother, Marcus said. Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a cost. James checked his phone. My company, Morrison Transportation, provides bus and shuttle services to private companies. We're expanding our corporate routes. I've heard of Morrison Transportation, Marcus said. You run those executive shuttle services. We need experienced drivers, people who understand that service means more than just following a schedule, James continued. Would you be interested? Marcus sat up straighter. You're offering me a job? I suppose so. Better hours than public transit, full benefits, including family medical coverage, James explained. Starting salary is 30% more than your previous position. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Why? Because kindness matters, James said. Your choice today showed character. That's what I want in my company. The 3 black cars outside belong to my HR team. They've been running background checks while we talk. This is real, Marcus asked quietly. Very real. You can start next week. Take some time with your mother first, James said, standing up. The HR team has the paperwork ready. Marcus followed James outside. 3 black company cars waited just as he'd said. A woman stepped forward with a folder. Sarah from HR. Everything's prepared, she said, handing Marcus the documents. We just need your signature. Flash forward about a month later. Marcus reviewed the contract. The salary, benefits, everything was better than he'd imagined. His hands shook slightly as he signed. Welcome to Morrison Transportation, James said. Sometimes life has a way of putting the right people in our path. Thank you, Marcus managed. I don't know what else to say. Say you'll take good care of our corporate clients like you took care of Max, James smiled. That's all I ask. Later that evening, Marcus sat beside his mother's bed, holding her hand. Things are going to be better now, Mom. Much better, he said. You see, his mother said softly. Good things happen to good people. Sometimes you just have to wait for the right moment. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. One act of kindness had changed everything, not because he expected a reward, but because it was the right thing to do. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mythos Weaver for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.